Vincent van Gogh once said, and I quote, "I knew well enough that one could fracture one's legs and arms and recover afterward, but I did not know that it could fracture the brain in your head and recover from that too." This quote is an example of how the mind is just as susceptible to being broken as the body, and both can be mended. The evidence can't be ignored or scoffed at when the logical circumstances have shown that tension in society is leading to outbursts and breaking people's minds. It is important to me and crucial to all of you in understanding if modern psychiatry is effective and needed now more than ever with growing cases every day. Now, I'm an SIUE student and an experienced nurse who worked alongside psychologists, neurologists, and patients themselves while providing the same care being questioned. I've seen the importance of progress in transition of behavior from receiving or not receiving treatment. Now, to give you the scope of how beneficial modern psychiatry is to society, I'm going to discuss my three main points, including first, the Americans that experience mental health conditions. Second, the essential medications that assist with psychiatry. And third, the shortage of resources and lack of psychiatrists with the high demand for mental health services. First point, there are millions of Americans that experience mental health conditions. The stigma revolving around the representation of mental illness has led to discriminatory attitudes, pushing shame onto those with disorders, causing them to come forward or not to come forward due to fear of persecution. I believe that modern psychiatry must adapt and expand its reach to the people of the country to do their part, which has revealed a substantial increase in conditions. According to mental health statistics from the website Forbes.com in 2020, 32.1% of U.S. adults experienced both a mental health condition and substance abuse. In 2019, 15.3% of U.S. veterans experienced post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and substance abuse. Now I would like to show you the stats from the National Alliance on Mental Illness that involve the population of the country that's affected that will allow you to see just how common these conditions are. Stats taken from 2020 show here that the top three mental illness conditions are anxiety, which accounts for 47%, almost half, and then 20% for depression. And third is a tie between dual diagnosis and PTSD and OCD. Moving on to the next chart is mental illness between adults and children. And as you see, the section that makes up 51% are the adults with serious mental illnesses, followed by adults with just regular mental illness conditions at 36%, and lastly, children whose ages range from 6 to 17 years old with 13%. But as the past few years, the children have climbed largely due to the increase of depression being diagnosed from negative circumstances. I'm going to show you now the percentages broken up into different races, with non-Hispanic mixed multiracial at 23% and white with 16%, making up the majority amount of mental illness. Now, the next chart is an example of genders affected in the country that is led by females at 39%. Now, on to the second point, medications that can assist with modern psychiatry. The National Institute of Mental Health states that medications can play a role in treating mental disorders and conditions and are often in combination with other treatment approaches, such as psychotherapies and brain stimulation therapies. The most common medications used are antidepressants, anti-anxiety, antipsychotics, stabilizing mood medications, and stimulant medications. The population that is against the medication feels that psychiatrists are biological reductionists and are pill pushers who diagnose and prescribe just anyone with a condition to just try to get money out of them. Now, on to the next graph that I have to demonstrate the medications based on location. Non-metropolitan areas have the highest use of medication with 18.9%, which correlates with less access to therapy in larger facilities like in larger cities. So meds are usually the main options for people in rural areas. Now, third and the last point, there's a shortage of psychiatrists and high demand for mental health services. According to Dr. Saul Levin, he states people can't get care, it affects their lives, their ability to work, to socialize, or even get out of bed. There will be a shortage of psychiatrists between 14,280 and 31,109 over the next few years. Now, from the daily observations that I see, the shortage of psychiatrists will affect the world because people will not be able to get the treatment needed, which could cause suicide and crime to increase. According to Dr. Moorhead from the website psychiatrictimes.com states, critics believe that psychiatric illnesses are not real illnesses because they are not physically and biologically real. Now, on to my conclusion. I implore you to not underestimate the intention of modern psychiatry and the numerous obstacles to overcome these conditions. Consider the welfare of others, from the widespread population diagnosed with mental disorder, the medications used to stabilize symptoms, and the shortage of psychiatrists and resources preventing the help of many. Now, psychiatric disorders continue to increase. That calls for increased support, encouraging people to come forward and let their voice be heard. The medications for treatment of these disorders help the severity of symptoms and reduce occurrences of worsening conditions. Most importantly, it helps reduce the limit on psychiatrists and resources that we have, and will help that bring it full circle so we can help people in need. Now, I want to end this with a quote from Dr. Lauren Mercy: being able to be true to yourself is the key to good health.